Welcome to Fact or Freestyle.
People love Dave Nourie, and they always answer the phone when he calls. When we get him on Zoom, we ask him to confirm rumors.
Let's see how far down the rabbit hole we go.
I never heard that, but go ahead.
Well,
You got
so-
more interesting things like that?
RL Osborn always had his mouth open in most of his shots, and I always wondered, did he do that on purpose, or did he just have? I don't know if that was like planned.
I totally think he did that on purpose. And there was this one of him, I think it was at the Meet the Street because he was doing a wall ride, and he had that and it was the same thing that he would be doing with like some tweaked out power mower. So I think he mouth posed every one of those shots. We do. And this one, actually, we were tipped off by Eddie Roman.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And this, you may recognize this because we foreshadowed this earlier this week. So is it true or false? Is it fact or freestyle that there was an agency that managed mouth models?
Mouth models?
So we'll
You mean like
illustrate
in
that.
Hollywood?
Well, okay, so look at any picture of Pete Augustine, and what's the expression he's got on his face?
Blank, yeah.
Mean mugging.
He's like aggro. He's the aggro face.
Yeah,
Poster
he
boy
is.
aggro face.
He is, I mean,
He's mouth
I
modeling.
lived with that guy for a long time. He's pretty, he's just an aggressive, mellow at times, but an aggressive rider, you know?
Yeah.
Eddie Roman would contort his face, like when someone was doing a trick, and he'd be like, he told us about this. And of course, Martin Aparicio. And so
With the smile, right? I mean, he
with
was
the smile, smiling about everything.
contracted for the smile.
So,
And RL was the open mouth, right? Your mouth was
I
always
couldn't
open.
help it. I couldn't help. I had my tongue out. I know, I just didn't have control of my mouth when I was riding. You know, is that what you're talking about when I'm riding?
that
Yeah.
was involuntary, is what you're saying.
Yes.
There was no contract. There's no agency that was paying you for every photo. You got a picture
You
of you
didn't
with
get
open mouth.
paid. You didn't get paid. You didn't
You're
pay
asking
someone
me
for
if
mouth
what-
coaching.
You're asking me if what Roman is saying is true?
Yes.
It's the factor freestyle.
This is screwing me up because I've always looked at Eddie as a pretty straight guy, but I think he's kind of screwing with you guys a little bit.
So you think that Eddie intentionally introduced freestyle into this? Huh? All right. Well,
I think he's messing with you. An agency that does that. What? They tell people how to
Alright.
hold their mouth.
well, I guess now that you say it like that, it does sound kind of outlandish. All right. So, all right. Well, okay. We'll chalk that one up to
I mean, I don't mean
freestyle.
to hurt your feelings, but Eddie's fucking with you. Am I not allowed to cuss on here?
They slide in every so often.
Yeah,
It's okay.
not
That's
ideal,
how,
but
that's
it's
how
okay.
real people talk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I cuss a lot, so I'll be good though.
It's all right.
Okay. All right. So the next one,
Fact or freestyle? James McGraw did a backwards bar ride in his amateur run a few hours before RL Osborn did it in his pro run.
we got some validation from another Eddie, but this is more like who gets credit for doing something first, like first trick. So like who did the first 900? So it was Dominguez did it on his ramp, Matt did it in a contest, but Matt will still say that Mike invented it because he conceptualized it first.
Yes.
And so the way Eddie Fiola broke this down is that as an example that you were credited as the one who invented the backwards rubber ride because you got it in the magazine first.
Okay.
Even
I didn't know
though,
anybody else had done it, I don't know. There might have been some guy in another part of the world doing it. I don't know. I mean, but I did not see anybody else do that.
so in Florida where you debuted it during pro, and we know that you fly in do your run and go home. Apparently, there was a 12-year-old kid named James McGraw
That
who
name sounds familiar.
who asserts, and he put this on 23 Mag, that he did a backwards rubber ride in his expert run a few hours before you did it in your pro run. But you got it in the magazine first. And so what's the ruling on this one?
This is going to sound a little bit brutal, but who gives a shit? I mean,
that's a very common answer.
Trick named after you. I mean, God, these guys are like, hey, this trick, do you do this one? I'm like, I don't know, man. I mean, you know, I was riding with Chris Day. There was all kinds of stuff coming out of it, so I let James have it. I don't care.
All right.
You know what I mean? I mean, who cares?
So the reason this came up.
That's kind of my point, Joe. You keep bringing these up. It's like, we don't want the show to always be about who made up what when. Like, everybody's kind of had a very similar response to RL. But the exception is Joe. RL is just, in his defense, he's like, okay, I'm a pro rider right now. I work really hard on my sport. And when can I claim? Like, he's just trying to give like a yardstick of like, when can I claim it? Is it the first time I post it on Instagram and then I say, okay, to this trick? Like, how do we determine?
So let me give you an example of why this is important to me.
Can I just say something? Excuse me.
Yes,
I'm sorry for interrupting you. I meant no disrespect to you on that. I like these questions you're asking me, because all the interviews that I've done before, every question is usually the same. So I like this, that you're making me think, but I'm just telling you that my honest philosophy on who invented what it's not a thing with me, you know. And Mike Dominguez, it's like Tracy, the guy that did a backflip on a Honda 250, right? The first guy, and he tried it at a motocross race, way too high. He landed it and bounced off. And then all these other guys were going, no, you know, 4 years later, they're doing backflips and they're saying, no, we invented it. No, that guy that put his ass over his head and had no idea if he was going to live and showed you that it was possible. That guy, as far as I'm concerned, Tracy, that's Pink's husband, right?
Pink's husband. Yep.
Yeah. That guy deserves the credit, because that's just big freaking balls right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he made it, you know, I mean, come
Yep.
on. I think it's just people just trying, some people, it's like everything in the world to, they just grab every little thing that they think is going to get them ahead. And the truth is, nobody really cares. But I'll tell you what, you talk to any motocross guy, and when Tracy did that backflip, that was freaking mind boggling.
Yeah, so Dave likes to bring this up to me because I am the odd man out in this one. Everyone we've asked that question says, "Who gives a shit?" And so here's my conundrum. My conundrum is, okay, so I told you about how I learned how to do no-handed steamrollers by pinching my knees. Well, I can also do rebates, and I can do rebates where it comes all the way back around to a no-hand half hiker. Now, I think that's an extremely difficult trick, but I want to have all my boxes checked, because I don't want to end up in a situation where I have to create an even more difficult trick, like what Dave had to do with the gun.
What?
Wait.
Okay.
No, I get this. You know, here's what, you know, you kind of know, if you came up with that trick, you kind of know it. You know it in your heart and you know it in your soul. You're going to have people questioning it, this and that and whatever. But that's all that you really have to know, is that if you know in your area, in your heart, whatever, that you did it, that's all that matters.
Yeah, so I might have a problem with my own vanity, and I think that might be at the root of it. But look, okay, there's
I love how you talk, man. I love the way you talk.
there is. Let me run this scenario by you.
I know where
good words. You explain everything. Like, I take a million words to make one little point. You got one word, and it explains the whole picture.
But I know where he's going with this, RL, and I've
Victor.
already told him to put this to bed. So continue with your whole riff of
Okay.
explanation.
I'm enjoying this, really.
Okay, good, RL.
if it pleases the court, I would like to present. So apparently, what we have established thus far has been no one gives a shit, but obviously I need to be swayed. And two, whoever got in the magazine first claims it because that's kind of what we had. Well, if we apply those rules,
Fact or freestyle? Dean Palacio invented what's known as the Nori handstand.
then Dean Palacio invented what's known as the Nori handstand.
Oh, God.
And Dean Palacio did it in his run, which was two people in front of Dave's run where he
Oh, I see
debuted
where
it.
you're going with this, Joe.
Okay, but go ahead. Did you finish?
Just so you know, RL. So when the first contest that I went to, that was one of my big tricks. Like I had done this Nori handstand, and I'm in novice class. And Dean Palacio, I watched it. So you didn't see James McGraw do the backwards bar ride, obviously. I
Right.
saw the kid do it. And I knew the guy, and I'm like, oh crap! Like that was my trick. Oh well, whatever. Like I still got to do it. I got to do my best. So Joe's got this whole. I mean, through these series of conversations, they put the magazine of a picture of me with my thumbs up. Oh, Nori got first place. Dean Palacio, our ramp rider, got the trick, which I think I invented, which was called the Nori handstand.
Yeah.
So he got the picture and he got in the magazine. I mean, he got the picture in the magazine and he did in the contest first. All these years, I've been riding on the coattails of Dean Palacio. I think that's what Joe's point is.
So my fear,
Go ahead.
okay, is that I will. So RL, this is the piece we call the Gumby vendetta that has been deemed the Gumby vendetta. Dave then took 2 months working in secret between those contests, and he invented the Gumby. But then he shows up at the contest, and the way Dave tells the story is he invented the Gumby 10 minutes before his contest. I am afraid that I will have to do something like that if I don't tick all the boxes with the tricks that I've invented. So this is my conundrum.
Here, okay. So here, first of all, whether it was in a magazine or in a contest, depending on the difficulty of the trick, it was practiced way before all that.
Oh yeah.
Right? I mean,
that's true.
for you, so just because someone did it before me in a run, well, who was practicing it first, and it is probably, I do have an unfair advantage because they put it in the magazine, everybody thinks, oh, RL did it. I can honestly say that I did that trick not knowing anybody did it, but man, we live in a big world. You know what I mean? But you want to name it. You want to know that you did that trick first. Is that what you're kind of getting at here?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And that's cool. I mean, I dig that. I like that you're being honest about it. I go back to, if you just kind of listen and you're doing your thing, how much time you put into it and you haven't seen anything around, you kind of know. You just kind of know. You know what I mean? I mean, especially the fact that you're a pro rider, you're at the very peak, right? You're at the very tip of the mountain, and it's not very hard. It's how far do you have to look to know if somebody that has the ability to do that? You just check 5 feet around you and all the pros that you ride with, and then that's probably your answer.
So by way of metaphor, I am rounding pi. I am calculating pi to far too many digits.
I just think being a pro rider, I think you have a real good idea. I think if you're honest with yourself, because what you guys are doing, there's not like a million kids in this world that can do that. So I think you're probably pretty solid. If you think you did it and you're riding with these pros all the time and competing,
Because of the 15-minute limit that YouTube has started to put on front hop tutorials for channels that have 10,000 followers of 50-plus-year-old men, We had to chop this in several parts. Get that? Anyway, tap the link above to go to the next show because we had to cut this episode into several parts that you will have to re-weld together. Okay,